Welcome to the Note to Self podcast. I'm your host, Zoe Ariel, an adventurous entrepreneur who loves to make the most out of life. I'm a certified professional life coach, digital course creator, verified YouTuber, and published author. On this podcast, you can expect actionable tips, reflections, and inspiration to live your best, most fulfilling life. So, let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome back to Note to Self. In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about deleting Instagram. So if you guys listened to the previous episode, my little life update after taking a pause, I decided actually in that time to remove Instagram from my phone. So I didn't delete my account, but there's this option where you can just delete the app from your phone. And there was so much learning and understanding and reflecting that came from doing that. And I wanted to share with you today a couple of things that I learned about deleting Instagram or taking a break from social media for a couple of weeks. So yeah, let's talk about it, because I don't know about you guys, but I've had Instagram for something like 5 or 6 years. And it's just, there's been times where it was my favorite app, and perhaps it might even still be like one of my favorite apps because I love the journey of storytelling and photos, and I've always loved blogging, and I feel like there's, to some extent, it sort of has been in the past anyways, a type of blogging platform for me where I could share my thoughts, or I could share quotes and photos. But I mean, it's definitely transformed and changed so much over time. And I think my favorite era of Instagram was the beginning, when people were just posting photos of cute lattes and, you know, with the little sepia filters and just sharing life and sharing more sunsets and things like that. And then slowly over time, I feel like it has transformed into more of like a business tool platform, which is great. And I've definitely used it in those ways, but I do tend to sometimes fall into this nostalgia about Instagram. And it reminds me of Emily in Paris. So if you guys have watched that on Netflix, I mean, it's so totally bingeable. But in Emily in Paris, like, she shares on Instagram, I suppose, just like photos from her day to day. And I love that. I love seeing that from people. I miss that on Instagram. And yeah, so that's sort of like the reflection of my era of Instagram that I feel the most aligned with, or that I miss, is just sharing photos of your life and, you know, sharing little messages or little witty titles or quotes. So anyways, I decided to delete Instagram. So I want to talk a little bit about how I got to that point of actually removing the app, because I've never actually done that before. I maybe not have like gone on it for a couple of days. I've gone on a few retreats, like I have a Vipassana meditation retreat where I obviously didn't have any access to anything for about 10 days. So I've taken breaks like that, but I haven't actually taken a break out there living my life without this app like running on the background. And for me personally, one thing that was very conscious to me was that Instagram was a subconscious addiction, where when I would pick up my phone, maybe I was about to like write down a list in my phone or an episode idea for a podcast, somehow I would wind up scrolling Instagram. And I just was like, what's this about? Like, it's actually like wasting my time. It's actually drawing precious energy from me. And so I realized that in the past few months leading up to this, or a few weeks especially leading up to me actually deciding to delete the app, I realized that I just really wasn't vibing with it anymore. I was just not entertained. I was like, why am I scrolling on this? I could really sense and become aware of the energy drain and the subconscious addiction. I'm like, oh, I just don't like this. And also, I was presently navigating a lot of shifts in my internal reality and my external reality. And I just realized having Instagram right now is not supportive. What I need right now, as I'm going through this acceleration in my soul right now, in my soul's journey, is I actually need to just go inward. I don't need any distractions. I noticed myself when I was feeling uncomfortable or when I felt a little bit overwhelmed, I would go scroll on Instagram, and that's not doing anything. That's just actually suppressing and numbing. So I decided to delete it. And when I did, I felt like such a badass. I was like, yeah, that was such a move for you, Zoe. That was such a power move for yourself. And the time that I spent off of Instagram has been and was so incredibly nurturing to my soul. I was out there being much more present. I was no longer reaching for distraction. I was allowing myself to process discomfort and emotions so quickly, and so much more quickly than I would if I did have this distraction. So there was a lot that was being learned from like an internal reality standpoint. I also felt like my days were longer. And when I say that I was out there living more, I was like at cafes, people watching or journaling or reading books, not feeling distracted or interrupted. And I know part of that interruption is the subconscious addiction, but also what was happening while I was spending this quality time on my own without Instagram. It was like the addiction that was in my subconscious, because now I actually have Instagram back on my phone. It no longer has the same grasp that it had before. I'm no longer subconsciously going there to scroll. I'm no longer like drawn to scroll. It feels more now like an application that I use as a tool to share what I feel called to share when I feel called to share that. I released a lot of obligations around how I need to show up on Instagram for my business, how I need to show up on Instagram. There's a lot of conditions there. Like if I'm not showing up, then I'm not going to be able to generate income, or I'm not going to be able to attract new clients. And that certainly has not been the case. And everyone is entitled to a break whenever you feel called to take a break. And me just being able to become aware of the stories that I had created, or the paradigm that I had created around Instagram and my business and a tool and myself, was very eye-opening. It allowed me to shift a lot of belief systems about myself. So all in all, it was and has been very powerful. I didn't miss having it for a second. That was one thing I really felt like called to share with you guys, was like I didn't regret it for a second. And I have it on my phone now. So the reason why I decided to come back to Instagram after a couple of weeks was because a former business partner of mine and friend, basically, there was this situation. It was definitely an act of betrayal. I shared that on Instagram. If you do follow, that's the extent of which I'm going to be sharing about that. And the reason why I felt called to come back to Instagram to share that was because this individual completely locked me out of what we had created together. And basically I had no say in sharing my truth around the departure. I had no say in the emails to any of the partners that I'd already been in contact with or organizations. So basically I did not have the opportunity to be a part of my transition out, nor to share my truth. And there was a call inside of me that I need to show up for myself and I need to share my truth, because I never got the opportunity to, not in what was supposed to be our transition conversation. This individual was just deeply triggered and sort of immediately shut me out. And so I never had my opportunity to be a part of my transition out, when I had been a part of this community, had been a leader of this community for close to 2 years. So I definitely felt like I needed to address that. And also friends of mine who were following this account, you guys would probably know what I'm talking about, but I just don't really want to be exposing. But yeah, friends of mine who had been following this account and family members like screenshot a post that my ex-partner had made about me transitioning out, and it just felt completely fake, completely inauthentic to how I was treated in this situation. And I felt like Zoe, little Zoe, inner child Zoe, all the Zoes, Zoe who had been a part of this community for 2 years, needs to come forth and share her truth. And Instagram just felt like the path of least resistance in doing that. So unfortunately, it was an event that was uncomfortable. Well, I mean, I try not to say unfortunately, because it's all divine, it's all perfect. And my life is much better now with that person not being in it, and having the spaciousness and having the clarity and everything that comes on the other side of lessons from the universe. But yeah. So that brought me back. And so I have it on my phone, but now that it's been back for a couple of weeks now, I think, I don't reach for it. Like I said, that subconscious addiction has been removed. It's not something that I go to. It's just a tool. It's a way to connect. It's a way to share only what I feel called to share. No more sharing out of obligation. there definitely was points in my life where I felt like I had to be taking pictures of what I was doing each day to share that with the people. And I wasn't even thinking about why am I doing that? It was just sort of this habit. And being able to take a few weeks off of social media and living my life for me, I realized like I don't have to do anything for anyone. I just got to do my life for Zoe. And that was and has been incredibly liberating. So I hope this episode, I was about to say this video sparked something in you guys. This episode sparked something in you guys. And I wanted to invite you to a free 2-day workshop that I'm doing. It's called Discover Your Best-Selling Stories, and it's going to be on October 4th and 5th. I'll leave the opt-in down below. This is going to be super fun. I'm going to be exploring with you all of the different stories that you do have within. And what's so incredibly powerful about when we identify our stories, the things that we've been through, the ideas that we have, like whether or not you want to write an actual story or a best-selling book about it, when you come to understand that you've got so much incredible wisdom and so much incredible creativity within, it can be so alchemizing and so inspiring. So wherever you're at in your journey, I would love to invite you to this free 2-day workshop. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to get creative, we're going to brainstorm together, and we're going to ignite new powers in your creative energy. So I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Note to Self. If you enjoyed this episode, please help me out by rating and reviewing this show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If my energy is resonating with you and you feel the call to work with me, there are an abundance of ways to do so. I offer one-to-one life coaching programs, mastermind containers, and DIY courses, all of which are available through my website, zoeariel.co. Until next time, take note of all the abundance that surrounds you as you make the most of this game called life.